Good evening, everyone. My name is Rakesh, and here we are for another vlog, which has been a while since we done the last one. I'm here actually at the Waterman Business Centre in the Caribbean Gardens, and this one is particularly very exciting for me because I've been waiting for this vlog, because I'm going to talk about something special topic, which is a bit more personal and close to me as well, but also I'm excited to have my friend Stephen Lakey next to me. So come on, Stephen, join.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Well done, man. Good to be here.
Always. Thank you for having me at the Lakey Enterprise Business Centre.
Yes, head office.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like the Jungle Room. Is that what it's called officially?
Officially, it's a jungle room. Yes. Yeah. One of my favourite places. Yes.
Yeah, I actually always drove past this business park, and it's beautiful from outside. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go there one day. Mm-hmm. And I'm even more impressed now, looking at everything. And thanks for the tour.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's almost making me think now: should I move from west to east? There's a lot of other reasons.
Wow, there's a discussion.
Yeah, I know.
That'll be the next vlog, east versus west.
My wife Mary will be very happy if we start talking about moving to east.
Oh, wow.
For a lot of other reasons, but anyway, we'll talk about it another day. So yeah, like I said, this one's really special to me because I want to talk more about the Lakey Enterprises and the dream and the discussions we had over the last 5-6 years. And personally, it's even more for me. The reason being, we started a relation as a friend from SCLAA, and then it moved on to a mentoring, and you become my coach. And I'm thankful that everything you've done for me from a communication perspective. And the confidence I gain now to be on the stage, and a lot of people compliment me. I'm a natural stage speaker, but you know that how much training that went through, and everything I've learned, and everything you taught me, and I'm super happy because now you are moved into your own space with Lakey Enterprises and doing exactly what you love. And there was actually a signboard downstairs. Work is never hard when you do what you love.
Yeah.
So it was actually downstairs. So.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you should be very proud of yourself, man, because you have just taken it, you learnt the skills, you practiced it, and then you went out there. Most importantly, you went out there and got the chair roles, the MC roles, and now they're calling you, right? They're knocking on your door to do these, particularly in supply chain. So it's. Wow, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do in the public speaking training is because I have seen such a difference that it makes when people can learn how to communicate and they can literally make their dent in the universe. We all have thoughts, we all have opinions, but a lot of people don't express them or don't know how to. And if you can do that, wow, it makes such a big difference. And not just how you communicate, but also your overall confidence. Like I've just seen it too many times for it to be a coincidence, and that's why I wanted to do this, at least at the moment, as a part-time role, 2 days a week, as a communications coach. So that has been the big change recently since February. And it's definitely a very difficult transition of being in a very comfort zone and doing everything what you have done already for 15-20 years, and sort of a little bit uncertainty around. Yes, there is a bit of a safety guard and everything you have planned, but it's definitely not easy because I've been into that journey 3 years ago, and it's good though because we all want to live and lead a happy life. When you're happy, you do things much more with a lot more fulfillment. And you actually spread that positive energy around everyone around you as well. So and I've seen that a lot. You've been a lot more happier for the last. Okay, you've never told me this before, Rakesh.
No, I'm telling you now. So. And there's a lot of energy as well.
Thank you, man.
Yes, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
One person also I have to mention about the public speaking. Kyle is also one of the person who.
Kyle Rogers.
Of course. He definitely had a bit of an influence. Moving into that side more as well, and then combined with your coaching, that really gave me an opportunity as well. And what I realized, I actually get a lot of energy out of it. I actually go with I don't know, like 5 out of 10 energy to a conference, and I finish the conference. I'm like 11 out of 10.
And so you reach that magic stage, right? So there's a stage where you are getting energy from the audience and you're giving your best performance because of the audience being there, and not having so much anxiety that it's actually decreasing your performance. And there's a stage that, and I've seen it over and over again, where people are learning the skills, they're practicing, and it usually happens after about 6 presentations, like public presentations. It's like clockwork, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And at that point, their anxiety is low enough that they can concentrate on the skills of public speaking and communicating enough to use those skills. So they're using the body language, they're using the vocal variety, all the things they're taught kicks in, and it's usually about 5 or 6 speeches that happens. And I see that. You probably did it a little bit earlier, but you now get energy from the audience, and it's very, very noticeable. Yeah.
And I definitely have a lot of people ask me, do you have anxiety or anything, whatever getting? But I believe anxiety is good because it actually, I take it very positive having anxiety a little bit, because I don't want to be completely overconfident walking into the stage. I always need that little bit of fear, because that makes me stay grounded, preparation, all that. So all that discipline actually comes out of that little bit of fear and anxiety. And I actually want that. I feel that's very healthy to have it, and then I thrive forward on the stage when I get there. So it's been good.
I know exactly what you mean, and yes, I agree, and I would call it tension, right? So there should be a tension when you're going out there. And I've seen people who have been speaking in public for decades, and sometimes they lose it, right? They lose that tension, and it is just so easy. It's just another day at work. And the audience feels that. They feel the lack of energy, and it disengages them. So it's it should always aim to have that tension there.
Yeah, right. Okay,
100%. It should enable you to give your best performance, not inhibit you.
Yeah, right.
That amount of tension.
That's good. That's good tip. So, all right. So, I want to talk more about your professional journey and what are some of the key pivotal moments, because this recording or this vlog is all about you, because I want to know more. And I'm sure there's a lot of your audience and followers as well. They want to know more. So my first question.
I want it to be all about the audience, actually. Like if there's little things that took me decades to learn, and this is the conclusion I come to, and I have a little rule, then maybe that can help other people, and I don't have to go through a whole lot of stuff that I went through.
So, and I say it's all about you, it's indirectly for the listeners and people who are looking at it. It's your experience of 30 years combined together, and then they can actually draw from everything what you're saying, and hopefully they'll connect with you later anyway, and then you've got a really good following anyway as well. So first question to you, if I have to ask you one thing, a pivotal moment of change in your life that actually sort of made you think everything and then shaped your path forward, what that could be?
A pivotal area of my life. There is actually, like, everyone has lots of pivotal areas, I guess, and I think something that I think we've got in common is that we are okay with having big changes and making a calculated risk in our lives. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be in this country if you didn't do that. And something I've always felt that we have in common, and I've often felt, and I don't know what you think, but I've often felt if time and distance could be all messed up, and my 10-year-old self could meet your 10-year-old self, I bet we would be best friends. I bet. That's because we're very, very similar, even though born in different countries, very different experiences, but there's something there, and I think it's that willing to take a calculated risk and really shake things up every now and again in your life. Not all the time. I think if you did that like continually, that's quite messy. But at certain points in your life, you just know you have to make a change, and sometimes it's a little bit risky, but that's okay.
And now we are brothers.
Yes, we are.
We are connected from very far, from Bendigo to Bandipelli somewhere else. So, we got the big in common. So
so a pivotal time, I would say, would be about 17, 18 years ago. And I was actually quite unhappy in my life. I was, all I had was, and I say all because some people don't have this, but I had work and I had family. And there was just the two. And I was really in a rut, and I've got to be honest, I wasn't happy, right? I wasn't happy. And so I made a decision, because I couldn't go on like this anymore, is that I would go out and find other networks,
Yeah.
meet people, because I am a people person and I thrive on relationships, and I just didn't have that, you know. And so I went up to, meetup.com. So I went to a lot of meetups, and I actually there was one meetup called Stretch to Succeed that was amazing, but all the others were quite forgettable, to be honest.
Okay.
But that one I made a whole lot of good contacts and still to this day have good relationships. And then I was at work one day and I was working late, and one of my colleagues came into my office and said, "Oh, hey Stephen, I'm starting up a Toastmasters club. Would you like to come along?" And at that point, I didn't even know what Toastmasters was. All I remember was seeing an ad in a local newspaper once, and I just remember thinking it was just this little ad that didn't even describe what it was. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, oh wow, that sounds like, if I imagined what it would be like, a whole lot of old men all around a table trying to outdo each other with toast, like a toast. That's what it sounds like, right? Yeah. And I just imagine the cigar smoking and the Scotch whiskey, and I thought, that's a bit odd, but this lady, my colleague, she was the opposite to that. So I thought, okay. I literally looked at my calendar and there was nothing on, so I went. And long story short, I loved it. I found that it was about not only communications, but about leadership. It was also a social activity, and there's something about having a whole group of people in the room who are all about personal development. They're all encouraging each other, and it was an amazing group. And that set me off on that path. It introduced me to mentoring programs. It showed me the power of improving one's communication and what that can do, no matter what level you're at. Like we're at Toastmasters, you will have people coming who are new to the country, who can barely speak English, and they're going to learn English. And you've got other people that are professional speakers. They do this 5 days a week, and they're in Toastmasters to practice and to network as well. So you've got the full spectrum of people going, and it doesn't matter. It's from where you are when you come to where you want to get to. And it did that exceedingly well.
I was part of Toastmasters. I went to a lot of guest ones because I was in a bit of a travel mode back in 2019. So I went to 2 sessions in City, in Burke Street. I went to 2 sessions in up north, just about Fitzroy, and I did a couple in Werribee. I got a bit of a feel.
That would have been just when we met, I think, about probably 2018, 2019.
So it was just around that time. So okay, cool, all right. And I'm sure everyone goes through a lot of challenges, but if you have to
just continuing on, because I didn't finish that. So that opened up a whole new world to me. So improved my communications. I also went on the leadership stream, so I ended up a club president, area director, then division director. And one of the magics of an organisation like Toastmasters is that you can become a leader for 500 people. Like when I was division director, I had 500 members. I was responsible for 500 members. That is like something that you may not get in corporate, right? To be able to lead a large group of people may be really hard in your current career position, right? You go into an organisation like Toastmasters and you get that experience, and you're dealing with the same problems. You're dealing with clubs that are failing. That could be like a store that is failing. You've got other clubs that are just booming and they're doing so well they've got to split into multiple clubs because they're getting too big, You've got conflicts within clubs, you've got conflicts within the division, all the usual things that you would come across in a corporate setting, you'll come across in those sort of settings as well. An amazing experience, and you just got to put up your hand, you just got to be willing to do it, And so that set me off on a leadership journey. Got involved in the mentoring program, and that blew my mind about how the difference that can make. And just the fundamental thing was improving your communication, how that can absolutely change someone. And I just saw over and over again people getting promotions, getting the courage to go out on their own, found a company, all these amazing things. People who didn't have a job getting their dream job. How do they communicate in an interview? These are skills that get you jobs, that get you promotions, that win you deals. So amazing.
Awesome. Okay, and if I have to ask you one significant challenge that you came across, you had to go through, and any lesson that you have learned trying to overcome that challenge. So anything you can think of?
There's so many challenges. I guess something that was, and I'm not sure if it was a challenge, and I'm not sure was there too much to learn from it, but it was an important part of my journey, was that, so I grew up in the country, north of Bendigo. So we had, when I was very, very young, we had a farm that had absolutely everything. So we had, cropping, beef, chickens, pigs, you name it. We did everything. Later on, we just consolidated it into a dairy farm. And I loved living in the country. It's like, as a young boy, amazing. Tearing around on motorbikes and just that whole, fishing in the creek and all that sort of stuff is amazing. But ultimately, it wasn't for me, because I always knew that I would end up in the city, and that's where I wanted to go.
Right. Okay.
There was actually lots of pressure for me to stay on the farm, because I was the eldest out of all our cousins and everything.
Okay.
All my cousins are girls, and there was just me and my younger brother. And so a lot of pressure for me to take over the family business, which I didn't want to do, which I ended up not doing. But my best friend from about year 3, right through from year 3 right through to high school. He, at the age of, he would have been around 22, I think, he committed suicide. And I was just gobsmacked. I just couldn't believe it. And it was like I was around the same age, around 22, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, because you feel guilty, like I was his best friend, and he didn't come to me. And I had no idea. I knew he had some mental health issues, but I had no idea that things were that bad. And it was, he did it in such a tragic way. I just couldn't understand it. And so that made me a lot more aware about mental illness, which I think ultimately helped me with, because I've got 4 boys and 3 boys on the autistic spectrum, and my eldest, who isn't on the autistic spectrum, he's got ADHD and dyslexia. And not that autism is a mental health issue, but I understand it a lot more from all my deep thinking about what happened to Andy, my friend, back many years ago. And looking back, I think Andy was autistic, but they didn't diagnose autism back then, and he should have got a lot of help. He was on medication, but this is what happened in the past, right? Is that they would go through school not understanding why they weren't fitting in, having some really unique abilities, but really terrible at a lot of other things, social skills typically. But I remember, Andy was an amazing writer. Like in year 3 or 4, he could have easily written a book. Like he was just, it was amazing, his writing. So it sort of broke me into understanding a lot more about mental conditions, and that has helped me a lot with my children, who are high functioning autistic.
No, sorry for the loss, but it's it's a very, because I sort of understand as well what it feels like, because that experience is, again, it's very unique to individuals as well, and then you know your friend better than anybody else and how much connection you had. So, So, talking about Bendigo and your upbringing in country life and everything, what is some of your early upbringing life circumstances or growing up in country that actually influenced your professional life now, or professional goals on what you're today? What sort of impact you had on your upbringing and living in the countryside?
I think if people are lucky enough to have grandparents, grandparents can be very, very important. And I had particularly 2 of my grandparents. My grandfather on my mother's side was very crucial to not my upbringing, but the direction that I ended up taking. And my grandmother on my father's side, she was also very critical to how I ended up as an adult. So on my dad's side, my grandmother, we called her Mama. That's because I was the eldest and I couldn't say grandma, so I just said Mama, and that was her name from then on. So she was very heartfelt, very loving, but also very realistic. So, she understood that, the little calf that she'd, bottle fed had to go to market, right? And would be completely okay. But very, very loving, like no one I had ever met, and probably I have never met since. in the amount that she cared for me and her children and her grandchildren.
Amazing.
And so that was something that I wanted to take away from her, is like just really caring for people. From my mother's side, my grandfather on my mother's side, we called him Grumps. And again, because he wanted to be called Gramps, but I couldn't say Grumps when I was like 1 or 2, so it ended up Grumps. And what do you know? Everyone called him Grumps from then on. So they had these weird names. He was pivotal, particularly when I was around 10, 11, and just entering my teenage years, in that he introduced me to a book, and you know it, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he not only just introduced me to it, but he would read me chapters. He even had recorded it, and you couldn't buy tapes of this back then. It was cassette tapes. He recorded it himself, and when we'd go in the car together, he would play it.
Wow.
And so we'd listen to the various chapters. And that point in my life, like I was a very shy kid, so my natural personality was very shy and quiet. So sort of extraordinary that I do public speaking now, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I think I could be influenced by people quite a lot. And he taught me that the power of the mind, essentially. And that if you want something bad enough, if it's a burning desire, then you'll get there. You'll find a way to do it. And I know there's a lot of detractors from that, and there's lots of arguments, like there's some things you just can't do. But as a 10-year-old child who I seemed locked into a certain future, being, a farmer, and I didn't want that, it was very liberating. And it was very empowering that if I wanted something bad enough and I was prepared to work for it, then I could get it. And that mindset eventually, broke me away from the country and to the city life where I wanted to be. And also just removed all the limitations in my mind. That you're a kid from the country, you can't do anything you want. You're stuck in this little box. And it sort of opened that box. And I remember, like, he used to tell me stories, and I remember one of the stories, and to this day I don't know if it's true, right? But I remember the effect it had on me when I was very, very young. And he told me that there was an experiment done back in the 1800s, right? And there was a murderer. He'd been convicted of murder, and they were going to hang him, right? So they thought, well, instead of hanging him, why don't we just do this really basic experiment, right? And so they put him in a chair, and they taped his arms to the chair like this. And they put a blindfold on him, and they said, what we're going to do is, you're sentenced to death, is that we're going to cut your veins. You're going to bleed to death. We're not going to hang you. Right? So he's there, taped there, and they use the back of the knife on his arm and just pour warm water over it. And he died because he thought he was bleeding to death, but he wasn't. Okay. Now, I don't know. I actually never have Googled it up or anything. I don't know if that story is true, but it had a profound effect on me, because it was just like, that is the power of the mind, And so I believe that anything is possible, and that you shouldn't feel limited, no matter where you are in the world. No matter what your place, you can do anything.
No, I definitely believe in that, and I've seen plenty of stories around people with a very strong mindset. Yes, there's going to be some challenging pathways to get there, but I've seen a lot of impossible things possible. And I agree. I totally agree. And
then it all boils down to how much you want it.
I agree.
So if you want it a little bit, well, maybe you'll get there,
There's a little chance to get there.
But if it's the burning desire, and that's what it says in the book, the burning desire, then you will find a way to get where you're meant to be.
And actually, about the mindset, I always think about flight journey, because even before we get on the plane, if I'm going to LA, I know it's a 14-hour flight. Mentally, I'm prepared already. So once I get on the flight, I'm okay for 7-8 hours. And then I'm starting to I'm getting tired. How long more? So you start to look at the watch and everything. If you go to Sydney, my brain sort of tells me after 40 minutes, maybe start to like, if you're going to Singapore, it's only 7, it's almost like 4 hours. And I always think, reflect about this all the time, because every time I travel, how much we've wire our brain with the thinking of, okay, it's the same journey, it's the same plane, but then you just wired yourself differently to think about, okay, now you're starting to get discomfort, but if you're on a plane to LA, 40 minutes doesn't do anything. But if you're Sydney, you're like, you're already like, I need to get out now. So yeah, so
it's always around the 3/4 mark, regardless of the
regardless of the actions. But it's the mind that mentally prepares you. You get to a 3/4, and then regardless of it, how you prepare your mind actually to sort of take the journey.
At the very least, I think the mind is very underestimated as to its power, and we don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
But if you believe you can achieve, is the saying. I think.
So that actually brings down to a good topic as well. The next question I was going to ask you, because I know you told me a few times about your grandfather. Grumps, yeah. So I know about the story, about the book as well. Outside of him, what role, what importance did you have in having other mentors in your life? But also, you played a lot of role yourself being a mentor as well, and you trained. I've seen a lot of them, including myself. So talk about that a little bit, around the influence you had being a mentee and also being a mentor, and why is it important, obviously, the audience as well.
Okay. Yeah. So as a mentee, I didn't have a mentee until I joined Toastmasters.
Okay.
And it was just only briefly at Toastmasters that I had a mentor.
Yeah.
But that only served for me to see how important it is.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have one. Well, I could have done so much more if I had been mentored in my 20s. When for quite a few years I was completely lost. Right. I was from the country, and this is again why I relate with you and some of the other SCLAA students and grads that chasing their PR here. I think I can relate so much. Is I came from the country. I didn't know anybody here. There was an auntie here, a great auntie here who I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I stayed with her for 6 months, and then I had a flat by myself in Brunswick, and I was incredibly lonely. It was just me, and trying to work out, country boy in Melbourne, trying to work out everything. I was just, making a lot of mistakes and just blundering my way through life, really, right? There were some things that I wanted to do, I did night school, and I wanted to get my electronics certificate. I did all that quite well, but in other areas of my life it was a really big mess, I think. And I see that people like you have done the same thing. Like you come here, you don't know anybody. Like at least I was 2 hours. My parents were 2 hours away. Yours was a very long flight away, right?
Yeah.
And I get how hard it is. All right, I get that you're here all alone, and that's really hard. And you don't get the culture, and you've told me stories about some of the mistakes that you made when you first come, buying all your groceries from a servo for many months, right? And wondered it's expensive in Australia. Things like that. I think that's another reason why I really get the student immigrant, and I just love that grit that you've got, and that you kept going. Like, there's a lot that don't, right? There's a lot that just say this is too hard, and they go back to Mumbai or wherever.
Wherever they came from.
So I get that whole journey. I know it's not easy, because I've experienced just a small part of that, and I know that was very painful. And I wish I had a mentor in my 20s. I wish I had someone to turn to locally in Melbourne, but I didn't. But as I said, it just made it all the more special getting into the mentoring program and giving back and understanding the difference it can make in people's lives.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I loved the whole mentoring because thankfully I only learned about mentoring once I joined SCLAA as well. Prior to that, almost into the age of 27, 28, I never had any mentors either. I wish I knew this before, and then I probably had a lot more mentors. But and without being formal, my dad's always been a mentor for me. My mom's been always a mentor for me because every time you want to talk something, you pick up your phone, you talk to them. So informally, they're a little bit more like a mentor, although they're not going through what I'm going through. And because typically your mentor is someone who already walked what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
Parents
are a little bit different.
Parents are a little bit more support line rather than being a mentor, but at least someone to talk to and all that stuff. So that was been good. But I think it's great with SCLAA, and we actually open applications as well for SCLAA. And we've already seen a lot of uptake. So hopefully a lot of people sign up and then get a lot of benefit out of it, and then hopefully they all enjoy the results and the outcomes, and then hopefully everyone benefits out of it as well. So
mentor or mentee, like
either one.
Mentoring. I always learn. I mean, there's so many good things that come from mentoring. I mean, we wouldn't be friends if it wasn't for mentoring.
There's a lot of great things.
And I always learn so much from the mentees. You know, it doesn't matter how old they are. They always know things that I don't know and have experiences that I don't know. And as you know, I'm like fascinated with Indian culture. Really, after just meeting you and getting, it's just like, oh wow. It helps. Like my wife's father was born in Chennai, or around Chennai, not in Chennai, but around Chennai.
Yeah.
But
she's less connected to India, but you're more. So.
Yeah, isn't it? It's weird. Yeah. I've finally convinced her to visit her her home country in January.
In January. So,
she's never wanted to go other than that, and it's just
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so I'll wrap it up with 2 more questions. The first one is around what is your biggest accomplishment so far in your professional, personal life, which you really feel proud about, and you look back and it's like, this is amazing. Is there anything that you want to mention?
Well, the latest break to going part-time at Gamma and moving to the public speaking workshops and coaching. That was, it was just amazing how things had worked out. It's unusual that I would be able to go part-time in my role at Gamma. I was quite surprised. But Michael, the owner, the MD of Gamma, understood and said,
I know what happened. It's a communication. You pitched it really well.
I pitched it really well, I must say.
Yeah. So the confidence, the preparedness, and then you got the right message. So you delivered. So
either way, I'm very, very grateful because I know that the best business decision for him wasn't to put me part-time.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It would have been to replace me. Very grateful for that. And here I am living my passion and my dream. Who knows where that will go? It's not about money for me. You need money to grow the business, but it's really about second half of life, obviously. So it's about legacy, about improving people's communication so that I can see the difference that makes in their life. So I can see them like take off, like I've seen so many other people. And when I talk about communications, most people don't realise that it's just like, public speaking makes me nervous, and that's about it, right? But it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or extrovert. No difference at all on how good a public speaker you could be. If you learn the skills and you practice them, you will be good. I can guarantee it.
Yes. And I'm a walking example.
And public speaking is conversational language, right? So if you've got an accent, or even if English is your second language, it makes no difference whatsoever. It really doesn't. People like people who are authentic. And they talk conversationally. Not down to them, but conversationally. There's a lot of engagement when that happens. So don't think that I've got an accent or my English isn't very good. That shouldn't stop you at all.
Agree. And the last question, I know you touched on a little bit before, because you're very driven by impact, not by dollars, because you want to put more impact. And yes, you need to grow the business. You need to sustain financially as well. So you still need money, but your purpose is more impact driven, which is great. So what are your future goals, and what is that something you want to say as an impact itself, and how do you plan to sort of get there?
Well, who knows what the future holds, but I guess I want to ultimately impact as many people as I can. So maybe that'll be face to face, but probably more likely it'll be through social media or YouTube. There's a lot of options there. I'm just what, 3 or 4 months into this business.
Yep.
But that's to impact as many people as possible.
Yep.
And I know that India is somewhere in my future life.
Of course.
I know that in here, so I don't know how that's going to pan out. Maybe, I don't know. I could guess like 2 months of every year in India, coaching uni students on communication skills.
Yep.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
But I'm sure India's got a place in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll work something out. If you manifest it and if you work towards it, it will happen. So
Yeah. I think I believe that too.
yeah.
And where are we going for dinner tonight?
Thank you for organising that place. Biryani, Mr. Biryani.
Mr. Biryani.
Yeah, a Aussie introducing me to a biryani place, recommending me it's the best biryani. So
Well,
you took a tough challenge. So
if I end up on the east side, mate, you've got to know where the good biryani is. So I have been there before, and it's spot on.
Yeah. You know, one person I sort of think about every time I talk about biryani and we talk about LinkedIn is Benji. Benji put a post a while ago around the complexity of making a biryani and life. And I think he was talking about business and biryani and the layers and everything. There was something obviously related
Benji.
because I take a lot of extent when I have to make biryani, and then I'm really, I love the dish. So that's where I sort of, he just reminded me.
That's funny you mentioned that. So I know, Benji, you may be watching. Hi, buddy. So I met Benji through Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And he's just an average guy.
Yeah.
He could speak really well.
Yeah.
I remember I organised a division event, was speaking outdoors. We had an amphitheatre, this lovely setting by the Yarra, and he was one of the guest speakers. And I remember thinking, he's a really good speaker.
Yeah, right.
And then he was one of those guys that, like, the penny dropped. He learnt the skills, he practiced, he found he was really good at it.
Yep.
And then he founded a company. He used his communication skills to advance the company. He's on social media. He's a pro, and he runs an extremely successful business now.
Yeah.
Like Gigsters, My Gigsters.
Yeah. I've seen a bit happening there. So
yeah, a wonderful app for anyone in the gig economy, which is millions of people all around the world, but like a global company now. So Benji, proud of you, man.
Yep.
And again,
Well done.
it shows the power of communications. Not only the amazing communication skills, but boosting his confidence, his overall confidence, to a point where he does something like that with confidence. Amazing.
Fantastic. Any last message, final message? Do you want to sort of summarize or talk about public speaking or anything you want to share?
I would just say I've got a favourite quote.
Yep.
And that, when a bird lands on a branch, does it trust the branch or its wings? It's
wings.
rhetorical. That's right, trust your wings, right? So it doesn't matter where you land, invest in yourself, and if the branch breaks, you can fly. So invest in your wings.
We'll stop there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
Okay.